Alright, so we're basically going to start with this imaging right here. Doesn't look bad, but it was pretty bad, let me just say. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I still want to wish everyone a happy new year because it is still the first month of the new year. And this is going to be my first video on my channel. I mean, I don't mind to briefly share just because this might help someone out there in the world that's maybe got to go through the same thing or a similar situation and they just kind of feel alone or they're anxious, kind of nervous about it and are looking for some guidance or some inspiration. This video is going to be me talking all about my surgery and my procedure that I had to have done. Because today, as of today, it's January 20th and I am basically a month and a half in post-surgery. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm going to try to get through it. I don't think I'm going to cry. Hopefully I don't. Alright, so we're basically going to start with this imaging right here. Doesn't look bad, but it was pretty bad, let me just say. Back in September, I had to get some testing done and I needed to get an MRI done of my abdomen and chest related to some other issues that we thought was going on with my body. And instead, the MRI came back with this guy. Now, it looks very small. Again, keep in mind this image is very small. Was growing inside my body. We don't know how long it had been in my body and where it came from, but this guy was my bile duct and it had formed what was called a type 1 choledochal cyst. Immediately I started thinking the worst, and I think that's a natural reaction for us as human beings when we're going through the unknown and unexpected things start happening to us, things that are affecting our health or whatever the case may be. So I had to then meet with a specialist doctor to explain to me what this was, how we can get rid of it, fix it. So the specialist had told me this cyst typically is found in humans when they're just a baby, like you're born with it, or it's found when you're very young. Here I am, 23, and we're just now finding this in my body. I mean, based on the measurements, it basically was 6 centimeters all the way around in diameter, which 6 centimeters does not sound like a lot because we're saying centimeters, not inches. But when I look at my ruler, this is 6 centimeters. Can you guys see that? Like right here. This is 6 centimeters. So that doesn't look like a lot. And 6 centimeters is basically 3.5 inches. So 3.5 inches the cyst was all the way around. Now, when I went back to ask my surgeon exactly how big it was, basically this cyst that was initially my bile duct had formed the size of a tennis ball, pretty much. Also, I really had to make a tough decision because if I did not have this cyst removed out of my body, as I got older, this was going to continue to grow and get bigger, and then that would have caused me to get sick over time, develop infections in my body, and then the other worst thing of all, this could have formed and developed into cancer by the time I was 50. So that's pretty scary, you know. That's like the number one reason why I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through it, but just give me the surgery because I don't want to have to go through life with cancer. I mean, I'm battling an autoimmune disease on the daily, you know, as is. So to have to deal with that and cancer at the same time, like I can't even visualize that for me right now. Anyways, so I'm like, okay, wear and break at this point sounds like the best option. I mean, we basically get a whole month off anyway. And initially there was some miscommunication. So like initially I was told, oh, like, you know, most patients recover like within a week, 2 weeks. I found out from the actual surgeon, like, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for full recovery from this procedure. However, that's average for someone who does not have lupus, does not have immune system issues, who's not immune suppressed. They're like an average healthy person. I decided, you know what, I want to get the surgery done the earliest part of December as possible, but I want to make sure I finish my final exams first with my classes. So the same week I had finals was the same week I went in for surgery. Like, I took my last final on that Tuesday. I went into surgery the first Friday of December, which was on the 6th. So I had pre-op the day before. They check everything, do blood work, check your heart, make sure you're okay and good to go to have surgery. And so and then Friday morning comes. My surgery was scheduled like, I think kind of early. I think my surgery was like around 9 or 10. Oh no, my surgery was scheduled for 10 a.m. I had to be there 2 hours before that, so we had to be there at 8 a.m. So my surgeon initially came in and told us before all of that the surgery typically only takes him about 2 to 3 hours. Like, and looking back on it, like, that's how you know, like, you're like a badass at what you do, like, in your career field. When you know, like, a pretty serious surgery, like, takes you, like, no time at all. Like, my surgery, not including recovery time at all, ended up taking about 5.5 hours. Basically, long story short, my surgeon went in to go and remove my bile duct. I also had found out my gallbladder was also going to have to be taken out. So I have no gallbladder, no bile duct as of now. Like, I don't have it. They don't grow back in. Once they take that stuff, it's gone. So when he went to go in and remove the cyst, it was very, like, compact against my gallbladder and also pretty much near my pancreas, which was very dangerous because the way it was formed in there, as he said, like, they had to be so careful cutting and removing all of that because any slit or anything to the pancreas can cause some issues and, you know, I was in recovery for about 2 hours. So I don't even remember any of that. Honestly, looking back at it, I don't even feel like I was asleep that long. Basically a whole day, almost a whole work shift, I was like out, pretty much. So eventually I woke up in recovery after 2 hours, and then eventually they got me up to my room. So it honestly was really tough. I spent 10 days total after the surgery in the hospital. Also had to have an NG tube in. Basically, it's a tube that goes to your stomach. Just talking about it right now makes me cringe and makes my heart skip a beat because that was the worst feeling, the worst part. Not even the pain. That tube was the worst part of this whole thing. Now, I knew ahead of time that I was going to have it in. Like, my surgeon went over everything. The NG tube was only supposed to stay in for about 2 to 3 days. And then also he said there would be a catheter put in because, you know, your body has to reroute and, you know, almost learn again how to do everything once all that's taken out. So I ended up having complications. My pancreas got irritated and inflamed, so it caused I had inflammation of my pancreas, basically a mild case of pancreatitis. So there was a drain already put in, draining out fluid from my procedure, and I still have it in now. It's actually supposed to be coming out this week, so hopefully, prayerfully, all that goes well. I wasn't supposed to be able to eat for the first few days, 2 or 3 days after the surgery, but because I had the case of pancreatitis, I ended up not being able to have food for a whole week. So I had to go 7 days straight without food and liquids. I couldn't even have water. Sometimes, like, I was able to start having ice chips after about like 4 days. But that was it. Like, I couldn't let it melt and let it become water because they had to watch all the fluid in my pancreas that was leaking. So we get close to Christmas Eve. I'm still at home, but I started having like ridiculous high fevers at home. They would just come and go like every day. This was going on for about 2 or 3 days going into Christmas Eve. And initially, we thought I would be recovered enough to where I was actually going to be going home to Georgia and spending Christmas with my parents. That was our plan, but because I had all the complications, I didn't get to go to Georgia for Christmas. So I was here. So I started having all these fevers, and the last time we checked, my fever was like 102. My primary doctor, thank God they were open on Christmas Eve, which was a shock. I went to the doctor. They had to do tests on me. They tested me for flu, for strep, because it was going around a lot. All that came back negative, and so my doctor had an idea that I might have an infection somewhere, probably from my incision. But like a week or so before I went to the doctor on Christmas Eve, I had one of my first follow-up appointments with my surgeon, because my incision at home, it was all stapled. So I was stapled from almost to my right side, like my right hip, all the way towards my belly button is how big my incision is. It typically is not that big, but because of the difficulties and complications I had, my surgeon had to cut me open quite a bit. The way my scar sits, it looks like I have 2 belly buttons right now, because it ends right above my belly button, so it's like inlined. And then they stapled it versus stitching, so altogether I had 20 staples across my belly. All of them are removed now, of course. And then I still have part of my incision that's open right now that's healing up with a wound vac. Basically, it's a machine that goes in, it constantly suctions out any fluid, anything that may cause bacteria to the wound so that it can heal a lot faster. Part of my incision, we found out, did get infected when I still had the staples in from the follow-up appointment. So my surgeon had to go in and pull out about 1 inch of staples from my incision. And yes, it was quite painful. Initially, the plan was we'll just pack it with gauze twice a day at home and try to like rinse it out, get out a lot of the infection, because it was like a thick pus. Try to get a lot of it out when you shower. That was so painful, trying to get water in my belly right there where it's just sitting open, and then having to press and squeeze that stuff out was not fun at all. I had to go to the ER on Christmas Eve. We were there all day, all afternoon. They ran tests, ran blood cultures. We found out the infection from my 1 inch in part of my incision had spread and started forming pockets of pus in my belly. So back in the hospital I go, late Christmas Eve night, and I was in the hospital 2 weeks. I did not get home again until January 6th, and I had been there since Christmas Eve night. The doctors had to treat me on super high doses of 3 different antibiotics. One of them ended up attacking my kidneys and did some damage there, which really sucked, because you guys know my journey with my lupus and how my kidneys were attacked for about 2 years. And we had to switch my antibiotics, and then also because there was more infection spreading in my belly from the opening of my incision, my surgeon had to go in twice and do what they call a wound debridement. Debridement is where they go in and clean out your wound. They have to use tools, whatever they use, to get down in there and clean it. I could not be awake for it. My surgeon said it would have been extremely painful, and not even pain meds would have been able to control the pain. So he had to do it twice while I was in the hospital, and I had to be put to sleep both times. So basically, since December, I pretty much had 3 procedures and was put to sleep all 3 times. It all sounds gross, I know, and I have pictures, like I'm going to be inserting pictures throughout the video so you guys can see some comparisons. But yeah, it was pretty bad. So, there was that. And then also, like, from all the antibiotics, I was dealing with a lot of nausea this time when I was in the hospital again as well. They sent me home on the 6th, like I said, of this month. I was sent home on antibiotic, just 1, and I had to do it for a week. I mean, in general, it has taken me a little bit longer to recover just because, like, I am immune suppressed and I have lupus. So my body's immune system's not able to help fight off the infections and help repair and heal my body from the inside out. It's just not strong enough to do that. So, you know, I'm having to be very patient with the process. I mean, I'm much further along today than where I was like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. In terms of recovery, slowly eating better. I still can't finish a full plate of food. My belly is still trying to get, I think that my belly is still trying to get adjusted. I mean, it pretty much has to because everything was rerouted. And, oh, I forgot to mention, but those of you are probably going to watch this and be like, so what happens to your bile duct since it was taken out? I mean, it's your liver that actually produces the bile. But since I don't have a bile duct, basically, when my liver produces the bile, it is rerouted because my surgeon took a piece of my intestines and used that to replace where my bile duct was. So now the bile goes through that part of my intestine, then goes wherever the rest of it's supposed to go, and I still go to the bathroom, whatever. So that's how that works now. So yeah, my belly and stuff still getting adjusted. My pain has been tolerable. A lot of times I don't even have pain. So I don't know if that's also because I'm young and can handle it better maybe than most people that are older that get this type of procedure done. But yeah, like even in the hospital at first, like the first week or so from surgery, like yeah, I was probably using the pain meds almost every day and sleeping a lot. But like now, like a month and a half later, I don't really have any pain. Every now and then, like I feel a little bit of aching around where I have the wound vac in, or like sometimes my tummy might cramp up a little bit around where my incision is. But other than that, like everything's been really tolerable. So, you know, just gotta get back into the flow, back into my routine, and it's just gonna take some time. So again, time heals all wounds, and I just have to continue to be patient with this process. So that is pretty much it. I tried not to make this video super long and detailed, but I just wanted to make sure I addressed everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you again for those of you that continue to reach out to me or have checked on me, visited me, sent me something gift-wise, card-wise, I'm thinking of you type of thing. I really do appreciate that. And those of you that continue to keep me in your thoughts and prayers, thank you to you as well. Greatly appreciated so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video really soon. Bye.